You know what's going to sort this out? A little map time. So let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of Grizzly True Crime. My name is Gisela K, and today we're gonna debunk, or I don't know what to call it. We're gonna look at the BS that is this notebook. Okay, so let me pull up Google Earth as I had it. We're gonna do some map time so that you can just see how ridiculous it is. Also, excuse what I look like. I've had about 3 hours of sleep, but even in that time, I was literally dreaming about this because I'm like, what? This notebook thing is just like, what? I can't believe some of the things he said. So if you want to see me cover, line by line of this notebook, I know we've already gone through the pages we have. And remember that the Petito lawyer said there's more. And Roberta wrote a letter. So I'm hoping we're going to see all of that at some point. But I just want to show you just quickly on the map how ridiculous the statement really is. Okay. So here, if we just actually look just a little bit before this, let me just read the paragraph before this to you so that you can actually see this, right? So he said, rushing back to our car, trying to cross the streams of Spread Creek before it got too dark, too sea, too cold. Okay, first you can spell too dark with double O, but then too cold, suddenly you can't. Anyway, it's beside the point. It was too dark to see, too cold. Oh, yeah, okay. I hear a splash and a scream. I could barely see. I couldn't find her for a moment. Shouted her name. So this is someone saying, I did everything to help her. This is what killers do. This is how they talk. I did everything in my power to help her. I was looking for her, even screaming her name. Okay. And then I found her breathing heavily, gasping my name. She was freezing cold. We had just came back from the blazing hot national parks in Utah. Total BS. Do you remember that they were in Wyoming already at the time? They'd already had the vehicle at Spread Creek, camping or parking it where they shouldn't have, from around the 25th or 26th. It was around the 26th. Remember that? There were witnesses that actually saw him park the vehicle. Okay. And then Red, White, and Bethune saw the vehicle there on August 27th. Remember that? So, oh my word, thanks to them, that is what really broke this case, because I think that Brian and his evil parents, thought that Gabby's body would never be found. And if it wasn't for that footage, her body may have never been found. Which is a very scary thought. But I'm just going to show you. Just give me a moment. Just look at this and I'll show you on the map just how ridiculous this is. So he says, we just came. You didn't. You were in Wyoming. You were at the Mary Piglet's Tex-Mex restaurant. You were at Jenny Lake. There were sightings of the couple. There were sightings apparently of them alone. So, no, you had not just come back. And what kind of statement is that to say, we had just come from the blazing hot national parks in Utah. The temperature dropped to freezing. So are you saying that we had to acclimatize to this new freezing temperature because we were just so used to the blazing hot national parks in Utah? What a load of BS. I carried her as far as I could down the stream towards the car, stumbling, exhausted and shocked. Why are you now exhausted? Why are you exhausted? Exhausted in shock? When my knees buckled and knew I couldn't safely carry her. Why? She was so light. You even say it right after this. And then he says, I started a fire and spooned her as close to the heat. She was so thin. Why? Was she so cold? Is that what you're saying, Brian? That she dropped 10 or 20 pounds right then and there? Like suddenly, she's so thin. She was already very, very lean, very petite. But to say, I started a fire, spooned her as close to the heat. She was so thin, had already been freezing too long. I couldn't at the time realize that I should have started a fire first, but I wanted her out of the cold back to the car. Now, I'm going to have to right now already show you because it's just getting already so ridiculous. I can't even. So if we do this and we go to Spread Creek, we've done some very accurate map time of this in the past with the locations, the GPS coordinates and stuff. This is a bit of a rough one, but it's pretty much there in my memory of where the heck this was. Car around here, camp around here, and they set up camp across there because there was, remember the grass was kind of flattened out in like a squarish shape where top would have been, where the tent would have been. There was a little fire pit. And I know people say, well, anyone could have camped there after. What? Like next to Gabby's dead body? No, that's disrespectful to say. No way. You can't say people were camping there after. Well, the fire pit wouldn't have been from them because anyone could have camped there. They found her body there. Okay, so no. So I believe that they camped across the creek. I think that they put the car right here, already from the 26th. And then, remember the Halloween post? Happy Halloween. I think that was on... August 25th. Happy Halloween, remember that? And then on the 26th already, the car was spotted being parked here. So I think they set up camp here already on August 26th. And then they were there on August 26th and 7th. And on the 27th, they went out for the day, probably to that Jackson area, right? Because they went to the Mary Piglet's Tex-Mex restaurant. Okay, I'm just jogging this all from my memory here. So, no. I mean, everything he's saying, it makes no sense. And also to say, look at this. Just look at the creek, everyone. The creek, this is how it looks. I don't know if he thinks, I think in his mind, him or whoever wrote this, thought that at the season, I don't know, when, if this letter ever came about, that people would be like, oh yeah, okay, we believe you because this water would just be like gushing through this creek. But it doesn't. It didn't, and definitely not in that season, as you can see here. Brian Enton walked across this, it's ankle deep, okay? We saw that footage, remember? So no. To say what he's saying here, from where I started the fire, I had no idea how far the car might be. What I want to say is you had no idea 700 feet away where's the car lies. Of course you did. And don't forget, guys, that he literally hitchhiked from there, well, he walked from there to Colter Bay Village and then hitchhiked and got 2 rides back to camp. He knew exactly where the car was. He knew exactly where the camp was. He knew exactly how to go all the way. He's an experienced hiker, remember? That's why we all said he probably is on the Appalachian Trail. Now suddenly he has no idea where's the car. You could probably see it from there. Oh, my word. I think you can see it from there. I think from footage I remember seeing, you can like literally see where the car would have been from where they had camped. So to say, knew it was across the creek. When I pulled Gabby out of the water. When you pulled her out of the water? Why was she in the water? What water? What do you mean? Like this is ankle deep. You're making as if she's like fallen into this friggin' torrential, flooding, rapid, I don't know what stream. It's just sounding very novel-ish, right? He thinks he's writing a novel here for us or what? It's so unbelievable. It's so offensive. Honestly, this whole notebook is so offensive. That's why I have a feeling I'm going to make a few videos on this because I'm like, whoa, I also need to like get it out of my system. We need to look at this together and just be like, what? I mean, and then of course he goes on here to talk about her pain, and I really worry, of course. It's just heartbreaking to hear how many times he writes the word pain. He talks about, knew it was across the creek when I pulled Gabby out of the water. She couldn't tell me what hurt. She had a small bump on her forehead that eventually got larger, so I believe that's him explaining the blunt force trauma, and you can just imagine how much worse it was than what he's explaining here. Her feet hurt, her wrist hurt. Why? Did you bind her? Did you drag her? What did you do? Her feet hurt. Her wrist hurt. But she was freezing. So it's like her feet hurt, her wrist hurt, but... Why is that a but? But she was freezing and shaking violently. While carrying her, she continually made sounds of pain. Laying next to her, she said little, lapsing between violent shakes, gasping in pain, begging for an end to her pain. She would fall asleep and I would shake her awake, fearing she shouldn't close her eyes if she had a concussion. None of that. I don't believe any of that. I believe the blunt force trauma happened first, and then he had to deal with that. And that's why he didn't call for help. See, he could have easily, there is very strong signal out there. He didn't call. He could have run across the creek, gone to the car, got the phones. Maybe they had the phones with them even. He didn't call because then he would have to explain why the heck she has such terrible blunt force trauma, speculatively. You couldn't do that, because how do you explain that? There you can't explain, oh, she slipped and fell in the water and freezing and all this. You can't, because they'd look at it and be like, what the hell is this? So to say, I also worry when he says her feet hurt, her wrist hurt. Anyway, so then to say she would fall asleep, I would shake her awake, fearing she shouldn't close her eyes. I mean, that's graphic as hell. Brian, why are you doing that? This is why the other day I said it reminds me of, like, I don't want to compare Brian to John Wayne Gacy, because again, I don't put Gacy on a pedestal, but Brian is no Gacy, you know what I mean? However, Gacy used to do this thing where he would, it was like strangulation, right? Asphyxiation actually, with a rope, but he would let people come back to consciousness, in and out of consciousness. A lot of serial killers have actually done that. Again, I'm not saying Brian's a serial killer. I know we've speculated that before. There's always a little door open for that speculation. Anyway, but he's a potential one, shall we say then. I don't even want to say that, though. He's a DV freaking coward bastard idiot. Evil little boy. So, I just worry the way he's writing this, because it's as if he would have enjoyed that process of really torturing her. That's what they do. That's what these evil creatures do, right? So she would wake in pain. So pain, start the whole painful cycle again, while furious that I was the one waking her. Furious. Oh, now you're saying furious. Now this is where it really pisses me off, because he says she wouldn't let me try to cross the creek. Oh, now it's her fault. Now it's her fault that you couldn't cross the creek, you freaking micro melon, to go and get help. It's her fault because she wouldn't let you try to cross the creek, right? Thought, like me, that this fire would go out in her sleep and she'd freeze. I don't think she was worried at that point of freezing, or she wasn't worried about the fire going out. She was probably worried about you killing her. Sorry to say that. It's just, this is ridiculous. She's not worried about, oh my word, I'm going to be so cold. No. There's a murderer in the woods. Someone she trusted. Someone she traveled with. Wanted to share her life with. This is a nightmare. That's what I mean. This notebook, this is stuff of nightmares if you really read between the lines. I don't know the extent of Gabby's injuries. You do. Yes, you do. That would have never left his mind. Yeah, you do. It's just like, I have no idea. Why don't you know? I don't know the extent of Gabby's injuries. But you just left her body there, right? And then walked to Culter Bay Village, hitchhiked, took her van, drove that van home, mowed the lawn, went on a walk, put new stickers on the van, took some letter out from your mother, apparently, that was in the van. I still want to know the timing of that. So you read a letter from your mom, took it out, put it in your room, in your baby boy room. All of that happened. And then, you know what? Camping time. Fort DeSoto. Let's go camping. Let's do that. I have no idea what her injuries were, though. I don't know. But she was the love of my life. I just don't know. I just walked away from it all. Because it makes no sense. And then again, he says only that she was in extreme pain. So that's the third time he's saying pain, 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 which is just... I feel like this is pure evil. It tortures the family even more. And I wonder if that's why Bertolino released it. Is he playing games? Is he trying to show them, oh, you want this information out? I will hurt you with this. Look at this. I don't know. It just feels horrendous. I feel so bad for the Petito family and the Schmidt family. Terrible. And then he says, I ended her life. I thought it was merciful. I bet she didn't think so. That it is what she wanted. How dare you, Brian? But I now see all the mistakes I made. We're not talking about mistakes. We're talking about murder. Brutal murder. Blunt force trauma and strangulation. Yes, I panicked. I was in shock. But from the moment I decided, at least he said decided. That's the one word I can give him credit for, is he said, I decided to take her pain away, I decided to kill her. Because a lot of times you'll see with killers, they don't say, well, it's a decision. Like, yeah, I've got a lot of trauma, I'm really effed up, but I decided I'm going to be a serial killer. Well, I decided to kill people. Because it is a decision. These people don't operate on autopilot, they decide. I decided, took away her pain. It's weird how you can't say that I took away her pain. But from the moment I decided, took away her pain, I knew I couldn't go on without her. What? Oh my word. Why? Because why? Who would you abuse next, right? What a horrible, horrible creature. I mean, so yeah, again, I'm just going to show you on the map one more time. The car was here. The camp was around here. That's it. You could practically see the car from the campsite. Okay. So for him to say that, didn't know where the car was, didn't know anything. Oh, sure. So while she's here, and after the blunt force trauma and strangulation, and you murdering her, your next move was to go all the way up here to Cultivate Village. And then hitchhike back to build your alibis, right? You gotta get those alibis in. Get in her van. Update your Spotify playlist twice. Remember that? With all kinds of love songs and sick songs, really weird songs, and love songs. And drive home to your mama's house. And then mow the lawn, go on walks and go camping? Posing for photos, with your nephews looking happy as hell? I honestly think the only reason that he was caught is because of social media. Red, White, and Bethune, the video that they found in their footage and released to the world. Amazing, number one. Two, when he saw, whoa, this case is really heating up, the coward decided to take control. He wanted the final word. He wanted to take control. This is a control issue. We know this about him. He's a complete control freak, but like evil, okay? An evil control freak. He wouldn't even let her have a ladies' night. He's still trying to control the narrative beyond his death, for goodness sake. This is just horrible. And I don't know why Bertolino decided to release this. Do you guys know? Why now? Why during this very critical time when the judge is going to make a decision on whether this will go to jury trial or not? I hope this makes it go to jury trial. I hope I hope the judge sees this and he's like, wait, what? Come on, judge, snark it up with us. Because this is terrible. If this is not outrageous behavior on the part of Stephen Bertolino and the Laundries, wow, I don't know what it is. It just gets worse and worse and worse. The only actions they take are hurtful ones. They're like, we have the right to remain silent. Yeah, but the actions you take are extremely hurtful. Blocking the potatoes so that they cannot contact you. Like, why don't they extend an olive branch? Because you blocked them, and how dare you even say that or expect that of them? So blocking them, going on a camping trip. Also writing off their own daughter and not speaking to her, keeping her in the dark, apparently, allegedly, about what's really going on. I wonder if they're speaking now. I mean, that's a whole nother thing to look at eventually. So that plucking Gabby's face, her posters, out of their grass and just like carrying that in and being angry about that. Those are all actions they took amongst many others. You know, bringing the car back from the preserve, never mind, just everything. I could go over it all again and again because it's just ridiculous the actions that they did take. Not showing up in court is an action. A lack of action is still an action. It's like saying no answer is an answer. If you ask someone something and they don't answer, yeah, no answer is an answer, okay? Wow. Okay, I hope the map time helped a little bit. I mean, we could do another deep dive on it. We could look at it more if you want to, but I'm just trying to pair up the notebook and map time, just to make sure that you understand how ridiculous it is that he's also, you know, just in this tiny little area, basically saying that from the camping area, it's as if Gabby ran across this way towards the car, and I think she did, running away from him, and I think he caught up to her. And I think that was very, very bad, very violent stuff. And whatever happened, I think the blunt force trauma happened somewhere here. And then he would have dragged her back because her feet and wrist hurt. I think he would have dragged her back to camp and strangled her. And then left her body there. Packed up the tent, apparently, though. Tent wasn't there. Packed up that tent real good. Okay. And then what did he do with it? I think he would have packed up the tent. He would have then taken it across the creek. Sorry for all the noise outside. He would have packed up the tent, taken it across the creek, put it back in the van, and then gone to Coulter Bay Village, which is even scarier to think about. The only thing he left out there was Gabby and her shoes. In the wilderness, the love of his life. Who does that? Who does that? Didn't even bury her. Just left her out like that, in the elements. And where he wrote in his notebook that he was just hoping that animals would rip him apart. Yeah, you were hoping that animals would rip her apart, weren't you? Terrible. Okay, so I'm going to end that right here. It's only 20 minutes. I could go on and on and on. Again, looking forward to read your comments. Please hit the thumbs up, comment below, subscribe if you haven't yet, of course. Become part of us, the Grizzly community. We've almost been here for a year together now, which is very exciting. Looking forward to many years ahead with you guys and many more videos. So make sure you hit the bell so that you actually get the notifications for when I upload or when I go live. And one more thing, please look out for my shorts. I plan to make a lot of shorts in between as well. YouTube shorts, right? So go to my homepage, check out the shorts or the videos tab. Go check that out if you can't see it on your device. But hopefully you can. And okay, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.